Okay, once again, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thanks so much for all of us being here gathered. My name is Reina Ferrufino, and my pronouns are she, her, and ella. And I have the honor and privilege of leading our diversity, inclusion, and belonging efforts here at Rio Salado College. So for the next hour, we have the huge privilege of having with us here Dr. Beverli Marshall, who will be having a wonderful presentation covering topics about neuroinclusivity. So let's give her a round of applause. Yay! I know we can't hear the sounds, but we have the emojis. You can use them. Please make sure to use those. For today's teach-in, Dr. Beverli will share a presentation to help us explore neuroinclusivity, so providing us actionable strategies for supporting neurodiverse individuals and educational and workplace environments. So after we hear from her presentation, we will have a Q&A session. Right now, most of us are all muted, but when the Q&A time comes, you're able to raise your hand. I'm able to put you here on the main screen. You could turn on your camera, ask your question, or you can utilize the chat at any moment to engage with the conversation that Dr. Beverli Marshall will be sharing with us. So, who's Dr. Beverli Marshall? I won't be able to cover it all, but she currently serves as Vice President of Administrative Services at South Mountain Community College. And she brings extensive leadership experience with her roles in city management, education, and public administration. So some of those include serving as the city manager for the cities of Vallejo, California, and Glenwood Springs in Colorado. Some of her other leadership experience include being the finance manager at Berkeley's Public Library and CEO of Berkeley's Housing Authority. I was very lucky enough to live in the Berkeley area, and that's such a high need, so I'm sure you did so much wonderful work. Regarding the education of Dr. Marshall, she holds a bachelor's in sociology from California State University, Bakersfield, a master's in public administration from the University of Alaska, Anchorage, and a doctorate in business administration from Alliant International University, where based on the one-on-ones conversations we've had, a lot of her research focus on neuroinclusivity, and this topic has special meaning to her and her personal life. So once again, welcome to the stage officially, Dr. Beverli Marshall. And would you like to share some words with us before we get started?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I actually did this concept topic in my dissertation for my doctorate, focusing primarily on the workplace, but there's a lot of similarity in the needs of college higher education students in transitioning into the workplace. And actually, because there wasn't at that time a lot of research in the workplace, a lot of the research I had to rely on was in higher education. So this is something I'm definitely familiar with, and I've done many presentations on this topic. And I always find that what people think they know versus hearing it in this, looking at it from this particular lens, shines a light on it. And then for a lot of people, they've heard these topics, they've heard these words or phrases, but they don't really know what it means. So it's a great opportunity to start the conversation or to expand on it for the people who do know.
Beautiful. We are excited. So please take the mic away, get us started. We look forward to learning from you.
Okay, and I will share my screen. And so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go through my presentation. Please, jot down your questions so that I can ensure that I can answer them at the end. And then, of course, once I'm done with the presentation, I'm happy to share it with anyone because there are some resources at the end of it. Okay. All right, just making sure that it's visible and everybody is able to see my screen. And so
That's great.
One of the things that is important in the concept of neuroinclusivity is that it's on a spectrum. So that's the image that you see. It's not a particular stop-start. It's very fluid. And so there's a lot of intersectionality between this and other forms of diversity. So as you see that is the recognized symbol for being neurodivergent. And so you'll see that in a lot of places along with other symbolisms. Okay, so I love to use this as a starting point because it really gets the point across. Imagine a bunch of apples met an orange, but instead of saying it's an orange, they call it an apple deficiency syndrome. So the concept is there's something missing, there's something wrong, there's something different, as opposed to, no, it's just not an apple. and that's okay. It's an orange. So today what we're going to talk about is what is neurodiversity? What is neuroinclusivity? What are the conditions this generally contains? There's a lot of discussion on this topic in the field. So I'm going to use the ones that are generally accepted, not to exclude others, but these are the ones that generally everyone agrees upon. Supporting neurodivergent individuals, and then questions and answers and the resources at the end. So what is neurodiversity? So first of all, it's neurological variances. So it's wired into us. It is not changeable. So it is just who we are, like eye color, hair color, skin color, how tall you are. Those are hardwired into us. It's an authentic form of diversity. A lot of people, there's debate on that, but it is a form of diversity in a wide variety of ways. And that it's about acceptance and support, not conformity. When I used to do a blog, I used square peg because that's what it feels like, is being a square peg being shoved into that round hole. So instead, it's not conforming, accepting, and supporting. So what does it mean? So here you have the umbrella of the term, and what are all the possible differences that are included? The ones that are generally accepted: autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and learning sensory processing disorders, which include dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and dyspraxia. Say those 5 times fast. So the one thing that I will point out in this is very much a medical model that I just said, because I use the word disorder, which implies broken, needs to be fixed. I'm only using this because this is how they are defined in the DSM-5. So from a medical perspective, they are considered disordered thinking. Those who do not think of it as disordered thinking. They think of this is how I think. This is my order. So I do not buy into the medical model. In fact, my dissertation was the social model. And I'll get into a little bit more about that. But this is how it is. And when we think of things like the ADA, and we have to prove, we have to have a diagnosis, that's what we're talking about. Okay, common misperceptions. Neurotypicals, who are the individuals who are not neurodivergent, and that somehow they are healthy or normal. And so neurodivergent individuals, those who are different, that they can't function without medication, without assistance, without accommodation. They cannot succeed without somebody helping them. NDs want to be fixed or be normal. Oh, if I could only be normal like the NTs. NDs ask for accommodations because they are lazy or don't want to work or don't want to do the job. These are common misperceptions, and I have encountered this many times in doing these conferences, seminars. Why do we have to do this if they would just do the job like they need to be doing them? Okay. So this is just showing you how all of these different pieces and parts can cross over and be represented in a wide variety of ways, and how much they are in the population. 10% of the US population or more are considered some form, and it's probably higher than that because many go undiagnosed or underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed. 3.5 million in the US have ASD, that's autism spectrum disorder. 8 million in the US adults have ADHD, only those that have been officially diagnosed. 20% have some sort of learning processing disorder. 40% of those with that are somewhere on the autism spectrum also have ADHD. 14% have a learning processing disorder. Many have a combination, and 50% of people with ADHD have an impaired motor skill. So that's not technically dyspraxia, but it could be some other form. And that the biggest difficulty is the disparity between the strengths and their struggles. So people see one or the other, and they really struggle with trying to put them together. How can you be so smart and not be able to do this thing? So now the conditions. Again, I'm going to be talking about these in sort of the generally accepted. There are always differences. I will tell you within the autism community, it's if you've met a person with autism, you've met a person with autism. You have not met everyone. I'm showing this image because like the other forms, especially ADHD and autism, the traits come out very differently based on biological sex. And I'm saying that specifically because this is a neurological condition. So it is a biological function as opposed to gender, which could mean a wide variety of things. But when it gets down to our basic DNA is what I'm talking about. They have a difficulty with social cues. Oftentimes, relationship rules, their rules that make sense to them may not be the socially acceptable norms or understandings. Hypo or hypersensitivity to sensory input. Monotropism, which is that limited or hyper-focused. Emotional dysregulation, which means their reactions to things emotionally may be different than the situation may warrant or what somebody's perception of it may warrant. And it very much varies based on that biological sex. So what are the strengths? There are strengths with every single one of these conditions. They love facts and details. Typically, again, these are not everyone, but through the wide swath, matter-of-fact analysis, creating or identifying patterns and order, finding inconsistencies and anomalies, tenacious and honest to a fault to some degree. The most extreme version of this, for anybody who might remember the movie Rain Man, where he drops a box of toothpicks on the floor and he immediately knows how many because he could spot the pattern. Now, that's an extreme circumstance, not to minimize it, but it's that kind of pattern recognition. So while those are strengths, there are supports that are needed, and it's a spectrum. Not everyone needs the same support. Not everyone has the same struggles. But as a whole, some common support needs are, given what we just talked about, minimizing last-minute schedule and assignment changes or deviations. Oh, we were going to talk about this today, but never mind what the syllabus says. We're going to do this other thing instead. That can be very disruptive because in their mind, they know the syllabus, they know what to expect. You've just thrown them. And it can be not just mentally, it can be physically disruptive to someone who is who has autism. Again, people use the terms varying, and I don't want to exclude anyone, but people identify, and you can ask someone what they prefer. Are they someone with autism? Are they on the autism spectrum, or are they autistic? And that's a wide variety of what people want or need. Avoiding overstimulation and provide quiet, calm retreat space. So that's that image. It's somewhere they can go. Maybe it's they can just go into an office. Maybe it's somewhere where they can walk outside because they've had artificial lighting and they need something, a more natural lighting. Assisting with and managing social interactions or limit mandatory in-person things because of those social cues and relationship rules, that can be overwhelming. And to say, oh, you have to go to this thing, you have to be in a group of 50 people or something, can be so anxiety producing. And if it's not part of their day-to-day interactions, we shouldn't force it. Setting clear expectations, milestones, timelines. Sometimes executive functioning can be a problem. That means breaking a big project into small pieces. So helping them with setting those expectations. I need this by this date. I am going to need X, Y, or Z. I'm going to need this first and then that, because their prioritization may be very different than yours. So being very clear about that. But then again, wouldn't we all benefit from that? That the things that I'm saying, yes, in a more enhanced way is something that someone who has a condition such as this would benefit from. But many of these things everyone would benefit from it if we use this as sort of a standard. Providing stress management tools. So in a moment where they might feel overwhelmed, that emotional dysregulation I talked about, giving them tools and agreeing that if you feel overwhelmed, you can step out. Don't like, hey, where are you going? Why are you stepping out of class? I didn't say you could do that or something. Just knowing that that person is, by removing themselves, saying, I need to take a break and I shouldn't have to, I'm adult, I shouldn't have to ask for permission. I know what I'm doing it inside, and don't highlight it because you wouldn't highlight someone else. And so because of that, don't make an example. Factual and timely feedback and evaluations, and provide examples. Don't just say you didn't do it right. Well, what does that mean? Again, wouldn't we all benefit from that? But especially because they need to understand it, and they may not connect what you say they're doing with when they're doing it or how they're doing it. But you could say, when you did this, when you interrupted someone to say something, then that meant that person couldn't finish their thought. So giving them an example, and do it in the time frame. So don't wait 6 months or at their annual evaluation or in the midterm or the final. Do it as quickly to the event as possible, but not in front of other people. Nobody should do that. Okay, next condition, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Used to be called ADD, ADHD. There's a wide variety of these things. But each time the medical understanding of it, sometimes that changes. It's a different wiring. I can tell you, I've heard people say, well, aren't we all a little ADHD? Or I'm feeling a little ADHD today. I'm a little scattered is what they mean. But it's different when it's your world. So when you hear things like that, that's really not creating a space for the person to live the way it is for them. They're easily distracted, squirrel, right? That kind of thing, where something catches their attention, something breaks their train of thought. Or, and this is when a lot of people don't know, hyper-focused. They can go down the rabbit hole when they're into something, so much so they lose complete track of time. Executive functioning challenges, again, seem familiar, just like the other one, breaking that big project down into smaller bite-sized pieces. That feeds into the thing we normally think of with ADHD, which is procrastination, not being able to get started. It's because they're overwhelmed. Careless mistakes and attention to details. Because we see the big picture, we're missing the little tiny details. Disorganized with items and time. Again, something breaks concentration. You set it down, you forgot you set it down there. I can tell you, my daughter, she knows I use her for examples, so she's okay with it. I can't tell you how many jackets we replaced because she'd set them on the playground, and she'd get home, have no idea where she did it. She'd do her homework, forget to turn it in. It was lost in the backpack somewhere. Hypo or hypersensitivity to sensory, again, common theme. Emotional dysregulation, common theme. Varies by biological sex, common theme. So again, wired. It's wired in. It's part of who we are. And so because of that, no, we can't just. If you start a sentence with, why can't you just stop? Because if they could, they probably would. So just assume that if they're doing something, it is not to drive you crazy. It is because in their mind, it's making sense. What they're doing is making sense to their way of thinking, not yours, theirs. Okay, so I like this one because it is so true that the Oh, talking fast. There you go. So let me out myself. ADHD. Just calling it right now. So that one, talking fast. Creativity. Yes, we see things so many different ways that we can do things because we look at the world in a different view. But then again, here's all of the other things that people don't think about because they just see that top layer. And I can tell you what's going on in my head. It's a good thing it's not all coming out of my mouth. You would be overwhelmed, but it's all going on at exactly the same time. Multitasking, if you just look that up in the dictionary, a picture of somebody with ADHD right next to it. Creative problem solving, risk taking, entrepreneurial. I will tell you a large percentage of entrepreneurs are neurodivergent because they can't work in the normal box. So they see the world and they can't work in that world and they go off and do it on their own. Passion, enthusiasm, empathy. We may not read social cues, but we have high levels of empathy, at least in the ADHD world. Work under pressure. Some of us actually love it. We kind of look for it. A sense of humor, might have picked up. I do have a bit of that. Productive and authentic. We don't know how to not be ourselves. If you ask us to be something else, we'll fail miserably. Absolutely. Okay. Common support needs, you'll see some similarities. Scheduling and event reminders, not necessarily changing things, although that can be disruptive for some. But I'm going to either get hyper focused on something and down that rabbit hole and miss that the meeting's going to start. Or I've got that big project, but the big project is 6 months from now or 3 months from now, and I'm so in the weeds that I might miss a milestone. Organizing activities and paperwork. Oftentimes, if you see behind me, it's organized. I'm organized only in that I've worked at it. I've found a system that works for me, but there are other people who might be pilers instead of filers because if they don't have a visual reminder, they'll forget. So there's a lot of flexibility in that, but oftentimes organizing, not so great. Nonverbal working memory. I will tell you, yes, that is so true. Setting clear expectation and milestones and timelines. Again, tell me when you need it, how you need it, give me those details and give it to me probably in writing, not just verbally, because then I can refer back to it. If you tell me, I may not catch that detail because I'm taking it all in, but if I can go back and look at it, I can go, oh yeah, that's right, this is due. I'm going to put this on my calendar. I'm going to make a note to myself. Stress management, dysregulation, emotionally sensitive feedback. Okay, that's different. It's not just factual, but it's emotionally sensitive because remember that high empathy level? We also feel things possibly more extremely than others. And so if you just like come in hard, we may take that so to heart that we miss the context because we're just overwhelmed by the emotional response, fight, flight kind of thing. And specific examples, don't just say you didn't do it right. What? Your right, my right, which right are we talking about? Okay, LSPD, so that's learning and sensory. So I'm going to define these because not everyone understands what these are. So dyslexia, that's reading, spelling, those kinds of things. Dyscalculia is actually, people said I'm dyslexic at math. No, that's dyscalculia. Mathematical reasoning, numbers, calculations. Dysgraphia is a lesser known, and that has to do with handwriting. It's more of a motor skill, but it also pulls in language. And just so you know, there are some famous writers who had dysgraphia. Murder, She Wrote, right? Her writing, she typed on a typewriter because she couldn't write. She struggled with the writing. Dyspraxia, okay. So this one is probably the least known, and it's a gross and fine motor skill, balance, handwriting, typing. And I will tell you, the gentleman who played Harry Potter is dyspraxic. So people thought when he was on that movie set, even young, when he was like 10, they thought he was drunk because he would stumble. And it's because he's dyspraxic. So that gross motor skill. And so it is not as well known, but people say, oh, you're a klutz. That very well might be some sort of dyspraxic disorder. So those are the kinds of things where from the outside, right, that invisible disability, you look fine, but you don't know what is going on internally. So strengths, they have strengths. Artistic, musical, mechanical talents. They visualize the world differently because of the way they take in information and the way they process communication. They have 3D visual spatial skills. And so where my ADHD, that's one of the things I have difficulty with, they excel at it. Lateral thinking, material or spatial reasoning, again, a difficulty I have, but somebody who might have a disorder like this might actually excel at that. Creativity, curiosity, intuition, problem solving, interpersonal skills, and dynamic reasoning. So you can see that you could probably put all 3 of these chunks of disorders in a room and you might have like the perfect combination of things because each of us have different strengths. But isn't that true of any team? If you have, that's the definition of inclusivity, is having something of everything because we all complement each other in the sense of we add the strengths where others might see weaknesses. Common support needs. Oh, look, scheduling and event reminders, project managing, that executive functioning, organizing, activities and paperwork, word spacing and white space. So I don't know if you can tell, but I put more spacing on this, this particular slide for a reason. So you need more white space because people who have processing disorders that with the written word, packing it in. So it drives me a little bit on the bananas side when I see things that I know we should not be doing. So we are using smaller font and packing more in because we want to get as much as possible. Times New Roman, oh, serif fonts make me itch because they have those little things that hang off the T. That's a serif. And for people that have a difficulty, is my camera acting up? Oh,
No,
okay.
you're great. We can hear you and see you wonderfully.
Oh, it's
Yes.
flashing colors at me. I'm sorry, squirrel. So italics, underlining, anything that adds more busyness, cutesy fonts, anything that adds busyness to the individual letters is going to make it very difficult for somebody that has some sort of communication processing. Identifying main points to reduce frustration. Bullet points are your friend. Long run-on sentences, large paragraphs. It's very frustrating to someone that's having difficulty with processing this. And we need to provide technology and software like Dragon Speaker. There's so many different versions out there. And it's not about what we think they need. It's about what they say will help them be successful. And remember, the ultimate goal, whether it's in the workplace or it's in the classroom, is we are not here to gatekeep and keep people out. We are here to help them succeed. What are the tools that they need? And then there's the whole, they need more time to take tests. They need a quiet space to do it. My daughter, 504 plan, IEP, and I still, every semester, had to explain. I had to do this when she went to college. Why am I explaining this to a college? That she needed to wear earbuds when she was taking tests because somebody, I don't know if you can hear that, that's my nails, but somebody clicking a pin, somebody tapping their foot, somebody jiggling it so the thing is moving would be so difficult for her. But for other people, it wasn't. And she wasn't asking for something just because she was trying to be problematic. She wanted the same ability to succeed as the people that it didn't bother. And that's really what we should be doing, is removing those barriers, the gatekeeping, the frustrations, so that we are giving them the best possible chance of success, not giving them an easy out or giving them a break. So I'm going to break this down into different types of activities, and this is going to count for both school and work. So enrollment and recruitment. Processes can produce anxiety. Forms can be difficult. Interviews and timed exams are disproportionately challenging because of managing all of those things. Behaviors can be misunderstood. We attribute, oh, they're doing that to be difficult, right? We're interpreting. Unfamiliar or uncomfortable settings can be daunting. Asking somebody to report somewhere and we didn't give them a map or directions how to get there, we just expect them to figure it out. School or job history can be judged or misunderstood. In a job, you might have hopped jobs for a variety of reasons, like I didn't fit in. And so I don't feel included and I don't feel comfortable. So I tried asking for what I need. I don't feel like somebody's hearing me. I'm going to leave. I'm going to find another job. Well, you do that and your resume starts looking like, why don't you stay anywhere very long? I don't know. Maybe nobody made me feel welcome. Is that on me or is that on them? Well, I will tell you the biases, it's on me. It could be in school. Maybe they've struggled in school. I did. And it's because I just couldn't do it the way I'm aging myself. They didn't have a lot of these, support mechanisms. And so maybe they've tried and failed a few times. And it may be because they weren't really given what they needed to succeed. So how can we make it better? Describing the process in detail. Tell them what to expect. Let them process that. Modifiable application forms. Instead of, if you have dysgraphia, you don't want to be hand filling out a form. Providing maps and directions. Eliminating timed assessment exams, if at all possible. Give multiple contact options, phone, email, text, chat. People with emotional dysregulation. My daughter used to text me from the other room. She felt overwhelmed, didn't understand how to express it. And so we had an agreement. She could text me. I'm overwhelmed. I need something. I don't know how to say it. So she could talk to me. She could phone me. She could email me. She could text me. She could chat me. I didn't care as long as she was communicating. That was what was important. Talk to me. Let me help. Train staff about neurodivergent conditions and how to be sensitive to needs. I will say it again and again and again. Train. What is it? How can I be helpful? What do you need? All of those things, because that person may not feel comfortable outing themselves and asking for things. But if somebody understands what a struggle looks like, they don't need to know the condition. They need to know somebody's struggling. And that goes for anything. That's not just one of these conditions. Somebody's struggling. Instead of worried about how do we get rid of them, how about how we support them? Okay, recruitment. This is talking about the workplace. Alternative resume and cover letter. I tried to do that once. It didn't work. I asked if I could send a video cover letter. I do better verbally. You could probably pick that up. I feel like you get more of a sense of who I am by this than a two-dimensional black and white. I got to think about how to describe myself. Same thing with the resume. Infographic resumes. What's wrong with that? Right? But a lot of places, they won't even talk about it. It has to be a form, an application. It has to look like something different than what works for me. So what's important? What works for you or what works for me? If you really want to get good people, which way do you want that to go? Practical demonstrations of KSAs. I did this at another place where I took away the written exams and sit in front of a panel. And I said, oh, you're applying to be a mechanic. I'm going to take you into the machine shop and I'm going to ask you to rewire a motor. Do I want to know whether or not you can sit in front of 5 people and tell them how to do the job? Or do I want to put you in the situation you're going to work in every day and see if you can do the job? Which one of those is more of an indication of what you're going to do and how successful you're going to be? Sitting in front of a bunch of people, which is not your job, you're never going to do that, or putting you in the comfortable situation, wear your jeans, wear your whatever you would wear to work, and come here and show me you know what you're talking about. That's what I want. I don't care if you can sit and do the other stuff. You're never gonna, I'm not paying you for that. Individual interviews instead of a panel. If you're gonna have, like when I got hired here as the VP, I think there were 5 groups I interviewed with that day. How about don't do all of that all on one day? How about break that up? Give gaps of time. There's a mental load for even just the average person, much less someone who might struggle with something. Comfortable settings, interview questions in advance, cannot hammer that enough. That goes for everybody. Absolutely everybody. And I don't mean at the right before you go in, somebody hands it. What's wrong? Why do people think it's cheating? You get the questions before I'm preparing my answer. Isn't that going to give me the best chance to give you a solid answer? And you know what? I'm pretty sure if I ask somebody to give me an example, you're going to be able to figure out I'm not talking about my own example, because you're going to ask me a question. Oh, give me a little bit more on that. And I'm not going to be able to. Again, gatekeeping. We're trying to actually find the right person. And educate the interviewers about neurodivergent conditions. By the way, a lot of people on the autism spectrum don't make eye contact. That's like one of the most common things. And guess what? What do we expect? Firm handshake and eye contact. 2 things you're probably not going to get with somebody that might have one of these conditions. That doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about or aren't confident in themselves. It just means we don't fit your definition. All right, I'm gonna have to speed this up or I'm gonna run out of time here. Orientation and engagement. So this is once you've hired them or got them into school. You're bringing them on board. What are you telling them? One size fits all training and instruction. Everybody's different. Again, this is not just for us. Focus on rote memorization. By the way, rote memorization, ADHD, not a good mix. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to just get me to regurgitate to you your, which is why I didn't do great in school the first time around, is because the you're trying to get me to pass, but really, aren't we trying to teach you something? The thing that I learned the best, I can still tell you today. The thing I crammed for an exam to fill out a test to pass the class, that's gone. That was gone the moment the test was over. We're here to educate. We're here in work. I want you to know what you're doing, not just spit it back out so that you can move on to the next thing. I want it to stick. Uncomfortable or overstimulating environment. A lot of artificial lighting. A lot of people that are neurodivergent, natural lighting is a more healthy thing for our brains. So if you don't have the luxury of being in a place where you can have outdoor lighting or be exposed to that, maybe breaks, giving breaks so that they can do it, giving enough time in between classes so maybe they can recharge that environment rather than just going to another artificially lit, loud, or overly bright, or too cold, or too hot, right? Expectation to self-advocate. By the way, no, not everyone can. Not everyone feels comfortable. Not everyone feels heard. Not everyone feels strong enough that they can do that. And we need those advocates. Stereotypes and biases. Yeah, they're there. They are there and they are strong. And this is one of the last places where bias, lack of inclusivity, actually has social approval. Invisible disabilities and different abilities is the last place where people can still make jokes and do things and exclude people, and somehow it's still okay. So it is very strong. Limited resources without a medical diagnosis. That's that medicalization rather than the social model. The medicalization says you need a doctor to tell you you're broken, throw some medication at you, fix. And the social model is society's wrong. The environment that we're in is wrong. It needs to accommodate and accept rather than impose conformity. All right, solutions, ask. How can we do this better? How can I communicate? What kind of modality works for you? What location works for you? Ability to adjust the environment, lights, temperature, sound issues. I had a place where I worked one time, Berkeley, where they put me right across from the bathroom. So I got to see and hear people come and go. I'm the ADHD, distraction. It was really hard to concentrate. Defined learning spaces. So like that one, maybe having little partitions that go up a little bit so you can define your space. A separate desk instead of shared tables, those kinds of things. Access to outdoor spaces, multiple learning styles, right? Don't just have everything be read a book, spit it back out. Have things you can do with your hands, have things where I can listen, have things where I can do team projects, offer a variety of things and be flexible. Options for nano learning, that's more in the workplace. So you can do small bits of learning instead of sitting somewhere for 4 hours. That's an awful lot for the average person. For some people, it's overwhelming. And you're like 5% if you're lucky is going to get inside. And provide lots of opportunities to take breaks. And that just goes for everybody, by the way. That's not just people that struggle, because the average person sitting even for an hour, I think I read somewhere that it was about 45 to 50 minutes, which is why a lot of high school classes and stuff are about 50, 55 minutes. That's about the length of time that people can do that. And then they need a break. So 2-hour classes, get breaks. Ongoing needs. Okay, spiky profile. The reason why, this is mine, by the way. This is my spiky profile. And so what that means is that goes back to that strengths versus challenges. So look at that all the way around the edge. Those are my strengths. Those are things I am very, very good at. I was a little surprised that verbal was not more, just saying. But look what happened to visual. Visual tanked, right? So when it comes to certain things, people say, well, I just don't understand. How is it that you can't do that? Because I can't. Right? I just can't. I'm not doing it because I just don't want to. I literally can't. And yet look at these strengths. Look at the things I can do and probably do better than other people. This one, no. Do not have me read blueprints. Big disaster. Fear of being outed or feeling the need to mask, pretend, fit in. Standardized assessments and evaluations. These are ongoing. They've been onboarded. They're the long-term issues. Rigid expectations, job descriptions, inflexible schedules environment, low registration. That means I'm going to miss stuff, or a low threshold for distraction, squirrel. Social anxiety and awkwardness, mandatory events, team projects, things like that. Some people that has just, that's like a shutdown. So a buddy to navigate, facilitating resolution for misunderstandings, because sometimes people can misunderstand why we're doing things, but don't put us in a room and say, figure it out. Well, if I could have figured it out, probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. Just saying. Learning mindset, try, fail, learn. Not just do it once, be perfect. Again, this goes for everybody. Training for staff and faculty on what to do and how to work with these. Safe spaces and support groups like, hey, am I the only one like this out here? Ability Maricopa. That is the kind of thing. Sensitivity to social anxiety. No mandatory social events unless it is directly connected to the job, like your student affairs, you've got to interact with students. Then I would say that might not be the right job, but maybe there's some pieces of it that are perfect, and then other people can do the student facing. Solutions, clearly detailed instructions, preferably written, timely constructive feedback. For me, it's written. For other people, it might be verbal if they have a learning processing. Timely constructive feedback in the appropriate format. Regular assessments, don't wait until the midterm, the final, the 1-year evaluation. Like, do it timely. give it to me on a regular basis. You're getting better. We need to keep working on this. Or, hey, awesome. I told you to do this. I just wanted to give you some feedback. Everybody thinks you're doing great. Flexibility in assignments and tasks. Let's not be so rigid. Allow for stylistic differences, piles versus files. Do you care? I'm getting the work done. What's the difference, right? Ability to adjust for sensory things like, can I make my room warmer, colder? Minimize frequent, significant changes. Provide tools to stay organized, like maybe an organizer. You can probably see on the back here, I've got a thing that helps all my books and binders stay standing up because piles drive me nuts. Personalization of space, what makes me feel comfortable. Time or project stress management tools. Allowing remote work or flexible schedules or alternate work locations. What works best? One size fits all? No. And then the conclusion is neuroinclusivity is a legitimate part of DEA. It's not making excuses for people. It's not trying to shovel it into what really disabled people need. Neurodivergent student and employee needs may not be obvious. They are mostly invisible. No one should have to be ashamed of who they are, and I mean no one. Supporting strengths has a better outcome than shaming deficits. Isn't that, I don't know what is happening to my camera. Come here. Hello, over here. It just decided to.
Yeah, I can see, but no worries. You're doing great.
Okay. Supporting strengths. Isn't that what we're doing with our whole strengths thing, right? Our strengths-based approach. So why wouldn't we want to do that in this space as well? And then from a famous neurodivergent individual, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So thank you, Mr. Einstein. And now I will go to questions.
Oh my goodness. Before that, I just want to thank you so much. This has been such a rich teaching. I keep seeing positive comments in the chat. So, you know, they're throwing out ideas for you to go on the road and show this throughout the district, maybe the student success. So just incredible, incredible. Thank you for your engagement, for the knowledge you've shared, and for your vulnerability as well. And even sharing the spiky profile and just connecting everything for us. Yeah, we're so, so grateful to have you. I
Thank you.
just wanted to share that because
I'm sorry, it was a lot of information. But I'm going to share the presentation because I know hearing it, it's probably a lot to take in. So I will share that, and anybody that's interested in it, I'm happy to share it. It was like a 100-page dissertation, just so you know.
Well, again, the expertise and it shows, and definitely the conversations we have, how important and personal it is to you. I know there's been different questions. I copy and pasted some. If I'm missing some, please raise your hand as well. I could, again, unmute you, put you here in the main screen so you could share a question. And I see a couple. So let me ask the ones in the chat first, if that's okay. So the first question was, how does one get tested for dyscalculia?
So anyone that can do any sort of learning disorder testing, so dyslexia or anything. So the college should have resources that can do those kinds of tests. So if there's an employee, they should be able to also go to that same area and get tested for that. I don't know the exact tests that they use, but it is very much a known condition and has been for several decades. And so those tests are developed, and they have different ones for kids as they do for adults.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And the second question I grabbed from the chat was, what is the best way to ask students to share specific needs without feeling uncomfortable or outed? Great question.
Trying to think of how best to do it. So I will give you from the perspective of especially like helping my daughter through, is if you see someone struggling, like you talk to them and they seem like they're really doing well, but then maybe there's something in their tests are not coming back at the same level you would have expected based on your interactions with them, or maybe their writing assignments are good, but then their exams are not. Anything like that where there's a disconnect, instead of assuming that there is something, just say, I notice you're struggling. Is there something I could do to help? because they may not even know. By the way, I was 45. So I found out because I was helping my daughter and I started noticing things and I'm like, that seems familiar. And so I took the adult version and yeah. So that they may not even know, but you can see the struggle. You can see that there's a disconnect between what you think their performance or output should be, and you're not getting that. So ask them if there's a struggle. And that goes for anybody, because they don't have to be ND for that to be the case, that there's a disconnect and they're struggling.
Beautiful. I think that's a great advice. Just a human perspective. If we see someone that may need any form of assistance, how can we be of service? How can we reach out? How can we be there? And I see the hands up with Cody and Thomas here. So let me go with Cody first. I'm going to go ahead and make you a panelist. So you'll be able to unmute yourself and turn your camera on if you like.
All right, my camera's put away right now.
It works.
So first of all, I would just I'd love to say thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And then I'm an ADHDer. I'm about 45 and worked in the district for about 8 years now. And in the last 3 years, I've done about 30 interviews and I've only been successful in one for a short term. I'm very frustrated with this whole process. Do you know if the district is looking at our recruiting process, especially okay, that's my number one. Number two would be, what advice do you have for candidates in this kind of situation when we have one way in to a promotion?
Fix the system, unfortunately. I've got one on you, 150, and it resulted in one. We are not everyone's flavor, just so you know. Many years of living in this world. Unfortunately, it goes back to that people misunderstand things and they attribute it to behavioral things, as opposed to we're not trying to be difficult. This is, it makes sense to us in our world. But I will say, ask for what you need. So for example, can I have the questions in advance? I need the questions in advance. I need the questions the day before. I need to be able to process the information so that I can actually interact and give you the best answers. It's difficult because we do still very much, especially here, have a medical model, meaning they want something from your doctor that says you need to have this. It's an accommodation. And that's a struggle for some people. But I can say, if you are comfortable in that, ask for it. Because that is going to give you the best chance of evening that playing field. Because we just don't process information in the same way, whether it's input or output. And so giving yourself the greatest chance to succeed, and don't be ashamed to ask for it. By the way, there's nothing wrong with you. We're just different. It's like people that like chocolate and people like vanilla. Well, the people that like chocolate, they're not broken, right? Just because I like vanilla, or the other way around. Or in my case, I like, most of the flavors. So I'm pretty flexible. Whereas other people, vanilla only, and it better be a certain kind of vanilla, and that doesn't make anything right or wrong.
And
Great,
I
thank you
think
very
that's
much.
such a great question, Cody, because it highlights more systemic issues here, right? Like, we have a DIB council, we have 33 members, staff, faculty, and students at Rio Salado College. And we've broken out 4 main domains we want to help tackle to move inclusivity forward. And one of them is equity and best practices. And there, one section focuses on human resources, just like what are different practices, but it is also like the whole district as well. Like, what do we value and like decolonizing it? Like, why do we need to have that interview process without considering cultural background, different abilities, like all these concepts that come to play? Like, why can't we do an oral presentation, or could we do a video, or what are other lenses that we could get creative and see different ways of interactions that are built on so much strength that each one of us carries? I will say someone very dear and near to me, I haven't asked, so that's why I'm not outing them, is has ADHD. And I always say, I just love your brain, because wow, the way they think is so much different than the way I am. It just makes our partnership so much better. So anyways, I hope you know that, Cody, as well, like just what Beverly shared. So thank you so much for this question. And if that is all, we're gonna move to Thomas, and let me move you, Cody, back to attendee, and I'll move, let me see, yes, Thomas here in the main screen. Okay, go ahead,
Hi, Beverly.
Thomas.
Thank you for this. I'm at Chandler Gilbert, and there is such a need for this with both. I'm first-year residential faculty. So my question comes to you from a teaching perspective. So I have multiple neurodiverse students in each of the in-person classes that I'm teaching. And I have found, and it kind of lines up with what you were talking about, I didn't have to ask or out them. Each one of them has come up to me directly and explained what I could do to best help them with their learning. So I found relief in that I didn't have to ask. But what I found is that each one of them is unique and does require some of my time in class to explain things a second time in a different way. And I'm trying, so as a first year, I'm being evaluated and observed by other faculty. And it hasn't been a negative, but one of the things they've asked me to think about in my reflections for my IDP is, how do I balance tending to the needs of my neurodiverse students and while not ignoring my regular or normal students? And I struggle with that. I don't know where the middle ground is, and I wonder if you have counsel or advice to that situation.
I would say reach out to your disability resource person on campus and ask them if they have some resources that can assist. Because oftentimes some additional assistance, like sometimes people with that are on the autism spectrum will have somebody come with them, a shadow, that can help them with things, or somebody who has a learning processing disorder might need an audio tape of it, but they may be, because I don't know all of your students, but I know here we have a lot of students that struggle with having resources. So they may not have access to be able to audio tape the lectures, but that might be helpful to them. Or someone who can take the notes and then speak it into a microphone. That's not something you would be able to do, but that's something that the disability resources might be able to offer up. And that's something where, like, giving them access maybe to DragonSpeak or something like that, where they can speak into it and that writes their paper. There's a lot of things that we can do from a technology standpoint. I wouldn't expect you to know what all of those are, but your disability resource person can help.
And
Thank you
if I may,
kindly.
I want to, oh, so sorry. The thing with the online, sorry to interrupt, but yes, I think from just an advice too that I would think that really worked for us in the college that I came from, College of Salado, Nevada. We had a Title V program aimed to help support our students. So we would have professors, coordinators, and folks from the DRC come together on a bi-weekly time frame and really connect with each other, give each other ideas. How is this student doing? What are some thoughts the other faculty member has? What are some thoughts student advisors have, and like really helping support and become informed of how we could be there for our students. Just a thought.
Yeah. And you know, and some schools are doing better work than others, and some of it is just not being aware, right? And like I said, it's over 10% of the population, probably closer to 20, with all the different conditions. And so when you just look around, like if you look at a room of 10 people, at least one of them in some varying degree is probably in need of some of these assistance. And some it's a lot, and some it's a little. And so just having that resource, and if you don't have somebody on your campus that's familiar, because not everybody knows all things, reach out to the other campuses, because there might be the resource person at a different campus is maybe more familiar with it. But I just think the more we talk about it, the more we say we're here to solve it, not make it go away, because it's uncomfortable for us or it requires extra work, the better we will all be. And the next generation of students coming through will be better. And, you know, we're doing what we're supposed to do for both employees and for students. And just to say, anyone who's interested in the PowerPoint presentation, just let Rainey know, and I will share it with her so she can push that out, since I don't have everybody's contacts.
Yeah,
And if
no
you think
problem.
that if you're at a different college and you think your college would benefit from it, I'm happy to come and do the same kind of thing there. Because again, I'm passionate about this because one, you know, it's affected me, but also I see how it affects other people and I want to give them the opportunity to succeed too.
This was beautiful. Thank you so much for this hour together. Thank you to our attendees. Thank you, everyone. It was such a lovely time here. I'll be making sure to send the recording, any of the PowerPoints, and yes, let's continue the conversation. I hope this is one of many. So thank you all. Have a beautiful
Thank
rest
you
of
for
your
your
day.
time.
Thank you.